All right, let's go to Katie in Dickinson, North Dakota. Katie, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, John?
Good. How can I help you this morning?
Well, I was calling because a couple years ago, Ryan and I, my husband and I, we went through a really tough time. We moved out to this rural place in North Dakota, and I just started living this kind of single life, even though we were still married. And
What does that mean?
Just like, so he was working nights, and I had a bunch of time to myself. I was working remotely. I didn't get a lot of adult interaction, so I picked up like an extra job, and after my job, I would go out every night, and I would stay out late, and I was, making friends with guys. And even though it was platonic, like I didn't understand how, I guess irresponsible or not okay that was. And so there was a lot of trust issues, just because then he was kind of trying to forbid me to hang out with these guys, and I didn't really get it and how important it was to him. And so I just didn't stop, and we would, go play basketball and then go hit the bars and go play volleyball and then, have something to drink. And it was just...
Did you ever cheat on him?
Yeah, I did not. So that's one thing, is that while no infidelity occurred, he was still as broken as if it did occur. And after this time, we had a certain amount of time. I can't remember if it was 6 months. We finally got to this breaking point where I think it hit me, and we went to a counselor and we saw a good priest. And over time, I would say about 2 years ago now, we got to a point where we were whole again. Sure. And while it still hurts for him, so this is why I'm calling, because couples fight. So a couple days ago, a fight happened, and he brought up, stuff that happened, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 2 years ago, and he brings it into current fights. And while I want to be understanding of his wounds, and I totally know I hurt him, and he still has these trust issues, not only with me, but his past relationships, how can I be understanding and listen and be a good wife and listen, and not dwell on these past issues. I mean, I don't want to live in the past because I really didn't like how ugly of a person I was, but I have to know that that's still so fresh in his mind, and those probably trust issues are going to come up for a while yet. And how do we work around this, or how can I be more understanding of this while not, just dwelling on that person I was.
I think, number one, you've got to forgive yourself. And if your husband, through time with a counselor, through time with just time separate, right, for a couple of years since then, if your husband's forgiven you, if you sat with your pastor, your priest, and he said he forgives you, you've got to forgive you, number one. Number two, fights and painful moments, man, they dredge up old stuff, and things come firing out of us sometimes. And you've got to give him some grace too. But at the same time, if he said he forgives you, and he said he's ready to work on the marriage, this is 2 years ago, and y'all are whole and you're moving forward, then you're whole and you're moving forward. And so at some point, he's got to stop weaponizing the past also.
Right.
Now, I'm telling you that to tell you this. You cannot, in a heated moment, bring that up. That's not helpful. That's not supportive. Afterwards, right, y'all go to breakfast, you go have lunch, and you talk about the fight, and you say, hey, I didn't like what I said. I got frustrated, but I need you to not weaponize the past again. And you said you forgave me. You said we put that stuff down. I'm living this new life. I've recommitted to our relationship. We're 2 years away from that stuff now. Let's continue to move forward. And at some point, both of you have to put those bricks down and stop using them to burden yourselves, or stop using them as weapons. Or you just need to go your separate ways, right? And I'm not a fan of that at all. It sounds like you've reconciled it and y'all are back in the same place. But picking up old bricks to throw them at each other, it does nobody any good. It just leaves bloody, broken messes.
So even if he has forgiven me, like obviously this hurt is still, it's still maybe more fresh in his mind than we would like it to be. Is that something where he needs to go see a counselor by himself? Would it be more beneficial for us to see a counselor together? We've had some sessions. We've obviously been through marriage counseling, for quite a while, but we haven't been to one for probably a year now. Or is that just something he needs to work maybe I should give him the option to work through himself, or if he wants me by his side.
Yeah, I think asking him, I think that's being a supportive partner, asking him to what he needs, what he would like, right? His role in this deal. Yeah, I think you're a year out after something that was tough for both of you. Whatever it works, y'all experienced it as tough. So a year out, yeah, go get a tune-up, go check in. Let him know you didn't like the way that fight ended. You didn't like stuff coming up from a couple of years ago that you thought you were both past. You sound like you need help forgiving you, and you're still like to go back to the backyard and pick up old bricks and carry them around to the front yard every once in a while. We all do that. When I get sleepy and I haven't been eating well and I'm having moments of shame and self-doubt, I'll think of things I said when I was 14 that I wish I could have back. And I'm an old man now, and I don't know where those things come from, but they pop up, and I've got to be really diligent about controlling my thoughts and my behaviors and not giving them headspace to dwell and to take root again. But your husband's got to go do some work for himself. You mentioned he's got past relationships where he's got challenges. He obviously ran into some trust issues with you. He didn't like the way you were handling yourself, and let's be honest, I don't blame him, right? If he's working nights, he's feeling like he's supporting you, he's supporting this family, he's trying to grow this new house, and you basically started dating again. You didn't cheat on him, you didn't do anything that violated the letter of the law there, but for whatever reason, he was uncomfortable with you having a bunch of guy friends and going to bars and going to play and going to hang out and going to movies, which again, I don't blame him. But at the same time, it's not like he talked to you. Y'all worked it out. You forgave each other. You went and got counseling, and now you've moved on to this new life. And so I don't want to belabor the point, but at some point, he's going to have to go do the work to get whole too, because he's still hanging on to stuff. And this is a broader conversation for everybody. This idea that once you forgive something and you look somebody in the eye and you say, I am done. I forgive you. I am giving you pardon, or you've paid your penance. We're back together here. To pick that back up and hit somebody with that is just violence. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help you. It doesn't heal them. I do understand saying things when you get frustrated, when you get sad, and you get upset. When your patience and your wisdom and your exhaustion thins out your decision-making ability, things pop out. I get that. But don't bring up stuff from the past just to abuse folks with. Don't do that. Don't do that. And if you feel yourself doing it, if you feel yourself that becoming your default setting, this is the third night this week, the dishes are out. Just like that time 3 years ago, don't do that. Don't do that. Because that becomes your issue, not theirs. And by the way, Katie, it wouldn't surprise me if there's behaviors going on in your heart, if there's a distance, a small gap, a wedge between the two of you that may be establishing itself again, that he feels, that he's beginning to feel this tension, this pull apart. And maybe I'm making that up. I'd love to talk to him at some point. But, man, leaning back into connection with him, taking him out this weekend and saying, I did not like the fight we had. I'm sorry for the role I played. But, wow, when you brought up that stuff from 2 years ago, that hurt. Where did that come from? Why is that still there? I think that'd be wise. You reconnecting, Katie.